Oh my gourd. Eagles, welcome back. We've missed you all dearly and apologize for our lack of episodes the past couple of weeks. We've been busy preparing for the final stretch of episodes, and to make up for it, we've decided that today we'll either go big or gourd home. We've got a visiting artist and collector who is inspired by the folk art of Appalachia, and he's brought some extra guests with him, but we'll get to that later. It's a gorgeous day outside, and we've got some gourd vibes in the studio, so let's get on with the show.
Space Trek provides a fully immersive, aerospace, career-connected experience that empowers young women to make decisions about their futures. We've expanded both Space Trek and Space Prep to West Virginia and throughout Kentucky. By doing this work, we are inspiring the next generation of students to pursue aerospace degrees and careers. That's how Space Trek builds the aerospace workforce in Appalachia.
Welcome to the show, Eagles. I'm so excited for today's guest. We are joined by Alan Marzilli. Alan, thank you for being here.
Sure, glad to be here.
So how would you describe yourself?
Well, I guess that's a tough question. I do a lot of things, but one thing that I'm here to discuss today is my gourd art.
Which we've got on display right here.
Yeah.
Very interesting pieces here. What inspired you to start doing gourd art?
Well, I started collecting folk art, largely from Georgia, where I spent most of my childhood, but also just from other places around Appalachia. I collected, some of it was gourd art, but not like this. It was mostly people would dry gourds and paint on them.
Okay.
But another thing that I collected were these face jugs, which were, just ceramic jugs with faces applied to them. And I think as COVID hit, I sort of thought, why not bring these two things together? Because I suddenly had a lot of free time, like most of us did, and I've been doing it ever since. So.
It's very unique. I don't think I've ever seen art quite like this. How do you decide who you're gonna make? Because you've got Kiss here, Uncle Sam down there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I sort of have two things. There's sort of just, I want to do something like, whether it's Uncle Sam for, because people like to have stuff for 4th of July or Memorial Day or whatnot. But I also do a lot of, and that was the idea for Kiss, and we just been a big Kiss fan my whole life. But then there's the whole idea of these things where I use a gourd pun. So here we have, down here is Marlon Brando as the gourd father. And
Nice.
We have, I've done a lot of stuff. Like I did a Vincent van Gogh where the opening for the birdhouse was his missing ear.
Nice.
And that kind of stuff. So I would say it breaks down roughly 50-50 between the ones that have some sort of gourd name, like Gordon Ramsay the chef or things like that, and then just ones that I just felt like doing something. And then some of them are just nothing. I mean, some of them I just created one guy who was had atom rings around his head, and I don't even know what he was. I just call him Professor Astro.
It's just a moment of inspiration. And
Yeah,
you're let me go ahead and put this on a gourd.
Yeah, exactly.
So do people commission these, or is this just a spur of the moment creativity hits and you're like, I'm making this guy?
Well, I do get some people asking me for specific things. My friend who's a professional chef got Gordon Ramsay. And I also made Edgar Allan Poe for somebody who's a big Poe fan. And, my daughter's history teacher asked me to make Mikhail Gorbachev. Mikhail Gorbachev was the leader of the Soviet Union in the 80s and 90s. And so people come up with ideas and give them to me, and I'll make that. But they're usually ones that I've already thought of, because there's only so many jokes you can make with the word gourd, so I've probably thought of most of them.
Well, I think you've done a pretty gourd job with all of these.
Well, thank you.
And I'd love to continue our conversation. We are going to cut to a commercial, but we will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
All right.
Is everyone all right?
Yeah.
How far does this set us back?
2 hours at most?
You know, I'll be careful, Benji. I can hear the voices talking.
Shut up, dude.
Why won't it stop raining?
Show the class, buddy. What's in the magazine? It's right there.
I'm done being used.
Welcome back once again. We're going to continue talking about the gourds here. More specifically, I'm just curious, what is like the creative process? Like, how do you paint this? You've got this blank one here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to hold that up for the camera and show it off a little bit.
So, well, here we go. That way?
Yeah.
So essentially what I've done here is I don't grow the gourds myself. I buy them pre-dried. Some people will grow them and dry them, but honestly, I don't have the patience for that or the space. So I'll just buy a big box of them from gourd farms. And there's gourd farms in Tennessee, and there's gourd farms in Kentucky and Pennsylvania, and I have gotten quite a few gourds, and I have a whole process where I'll drill the hole in it, of course, and hollow out all of the seeds and stuff. And then I usually put something inside it to seal it, so it'd make it a little bit more waterproof, because the inside's pretty spongy. Outside's nice and hard, but the inside's spongy, and so if water gets in, it just kind of,
It's a little messy.
Yeah, it gets a little messy. And then what I do is I use a 2-part epoxy clay. It's the kind of stuff that you would use for repairing rotten wood or something like that, and I'll just create the face, and sometimes I'll put other stuff on there, but usually it's just, a very basic face. I like to put lips on it, and that just keeps some of the water out. And then I just spray it with a primer, and that's what we've got here. I haven't really decided what this one is going to be yet. It might be just a generic gourd, but these really do get birds in them. Yeah, I mean, birds do like these. And so when I tell people, when I give them a gourd, I say, if you like it, hang it about 6 feet off the ground where you can see it. And if you don't like it, hang it about 6 feet off the ground where you can't see it, because the birds will like it and the birds will live in it. And one time I had a spare key to my house, and I told my friend that it was going to be in the birdhouse. And I told him which one, and then he said that he hadn't taken it. And I said, well, it's not there anymore. It was underneath the bird's nest, because a bird had built a nest on top of the key.
A bird had genuinely come in and made their nest there.
So it's kind of fun, I'll have them around my window, and I'll look out the window and I'll see a bird flying into, I've got Squashiel O'Neill, who's
That's good.
Yes, so I mean, it's a little broader than gourd. You can do squash, and
right,
so there's a little bit of leeway, but yeah. So anyway, if you want to check that out, it's
amazing.
They're pretty sturdy.
Looking
they're
at my own self.
Yeah,
So not only fashionable, but also functional.
They are functional. That's sort of what I started to. I focus on, in my collecting, I like to collect sort of functional folk art, whether it's fishing lures or birdhouses or things that you can use as opposed to just something that you're going to hang on the wall or, set on your table.
So outside of your collection of gourds, what do you think is like the most interesting piece of folk art that you've collected?
I've got a couple pieces by Howard Finster, who's best known for having done album covers for Talking Heads and REM. I would say that another really cool piece that I have is by an artist who I've gotten to meet several times, Lonnie Holly, who's from Birmingham, Alabama. He's also a musician. He's got a really awesome life history. He was on a podcast called Unreformed about a reform school in Alabama in the segregation era. If you ever want to check that out, it's really cool. But I have a sculpture that he did using a form from the iron furnaces in Birmingham. So they will create a form out of sand and then pour the molten iron into something, and that sort of fuses the sand into a block, and he'll carve stuff out of that block. And it's really, he has some really neat ideas, and he fits human forms and faces and curves all together, and it's really wild stuff. Lonnie Holly is the
Very
best.
interesting.
So I would put in a plug for him. He's a really cool guy too. So
Awesome.
yeah.
So I think we're almost out of time,
Yeah.
but before we go, I got to point out this guy. This
Yeah.
is probably my favorite one that we've got up here right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are familiar, but this is awesome. 606 by God guy, but it's 606 by Gord.
Yeah.
This
a
is
little-
clever.
Yeah, it's good to be here in the 606. So
Yeah.
I did
Cool.
that
It's
one.
locally relevant.
Yeah, I even sent a photo of it to the guy himself, and he liked it.
Oh,
So,
nice.
Yeah, there we go.
I do believe that's all the time that we've got for today. Do you have any closing notes that you want to make before we head out?
No, not really. Just thank you. And 606 by Gord.
606 by Gord. We'll be right back, Eagles.
Start your mornings with more than just a coffee buzz. At MSU Run Club, we hit the pavement, build community, and push each other to be our best on and off the track. Whether you're a marathoner or just looking to move more, there's a spot for you. Run Club is more than fitness. It's friendship, it's growth, it's what it means to fly like an eagle. Lace up, show up, and run with us, because every eagle has a starting line.
This is awesome. 606, by God.
Hang on one second, BZ. Hang on.
That's all we've got for the show, but I'd like to thank Ace for being here, as well as Gene, as well as Uncle Sam, who you saw up on the stage, Marlon Brando in all the way from Tahiti. Shout out to the Gord Father, as well as Alan Marzilli. Thank you so much for coming on today. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great night.